Hi friends, Right Careers welcomes you to another brand new video for this week. This is Sudarshan, your career coach. Before we get into this week's topic, the usual one, do subscribe to my YouTube channel in case you haven't. The channel link is www.youtube.com/rightcareers and also click on the bell button for instant notifications every Monday. Right. Now let us get into this week's topic. The topic that we have taken is careers in banking sector. Now, banking, first of all, is a huge industry. It's a massive industry. It has lot of job opportunities, lot of career opportunities that's available in banking as an industry. And before we see what are the career opportunities, what are the professional career opportunities that exist in banking space and how you can get into banks, we need to know some kind of history about banks, right? So banking as an industry as such is not new to India. It's been there since time immemorial. Barter system, according to me, was the starting point for any banking transactions. So that's where it all started. However, during the colonial period, few merchants in Calcutta, they started a small lending bank, I should say, exactly in the year 1829. They came up with the first ever bank in India called Union Bank of Calcutta. Now, since then, from 1829 till 2021, banking has come a long way, and it has come up in a way which is highly unimaginable. The growth of banks has been highly unimaginable, I should say. India as a country is very strong when it comes to BFSI, we call banking financial services industry. It's very strong when it comes to BFSI. Even unlike some of the other countries, even though the Indian economy has seen a lot of ups and downs, banking as such stood very tall, and it has never fallen from the top, I should say. Today, a career in banking is not only safe or secure. Once upon a time, it used to be considered as a very safe career. Today, it's not only safe or secure, but it's also highly lucrative, which means you can definitely get good money when you choose banking as an industry. All one needs to, do to get into bank is very simple. Be good at numbers, a little bit of good in mathematics, and also, good at managing your finance personally, so that you can definitely get into banks. Now, banking as an industry has never run out of employment opportunities. At some different levels, employment opportunities used to galore in banks, and therefore, the job opportunities are always there aplenty. Post 1991, a lot of things have changed. We all would have come across this term LPG, right? Liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Post 1991, when LPG happened, banking also got privatized, and that opened up the door for Indian banking industry, and a lot of changes have happened for good in the banking sector. So which we will see in the next few minutes. Now, in this video, specifically we will see four things. The first thing that we would see is why you should choose a career in a bank as an industry. What are the types of bank? It's very important that we understand the types of bank, so that there are different opportunities and different types of bank, different career opportunities. So we can explore that as well. That's the second thing we'll see. We'll also see what are the professional career opportunities that are there in banking as an industry. And then finally, we will also see the all important aspect of how to get into bank. So these are the four things that we would be, seeing in the next few minutes. The first thing is, why should you get into banks? The top three reasons as to why you should join a bank or get into bank industry. The top three reasons. The first reason definitely is a safe and secure job. It's been, since my grandparents' day, used to listen to this word. If you are working for banks, your life is settled. That goes the same even today. Your marriage market will definitely bloom when you work for banks. So that's the first thing, safe and secure job. Second thing is very good salaries. It's highly lucrative. I told you before. Therefore, banks pay you really well, unlike other industries or few other industries. So you get to earn good money. Third important thing, definitely according to me, is you get decent work-life balance. These days it's becoming difficult, but still, in general, the work-life balance is good when it comes to working for a bank. So these are the top three reasons as to why you should choose a bank. Moving on, what are the types of banks that are there in India? This is a very important thing. So we need to understand the banking structure in India. So what are the types of banks? The first, before we see the types of bank, I think we need to see a minute about Reserve Bank of India. It's called the RBI. We all know RBI, right? So RBI is the mother of all banks. It heads all the banks in turn report to Reserve Bank of India. It controls all the banks. Reserve Bank of India controls all the banks. in layman's language, it is called monetary authority. So anything to do with authority in banking and financial industry is definitely with Reserve Bank of India. So recruitments do happen in RBI also, which we will see. But now that we have seen the mother of all banks, we will see the three types of bank that are there in Indian banking system. There are three types. The first type is definitely the commercial banks. So commercial banks can be both private and public. So public commercial banks are typically, we would have heard about names like State Bank of India or Union Bank of India. So these are Canara banks. So these are some of the public commercialized bank, commercial banks public, and then private banks, private commercialized banks. Once again, private commercial banks are further subdivided into two. One is the domestic private banks and then international banks. Domestic private banks includes banks like ICICI, HDFC, Axis, KVB, CUB, etc., etc. Domestic international banks includes banks like Citibank or Standard Chartered Bank, etc., etc. So this is broadly the first type of bank, the commercial banks. The second type of bank that we have in India is cooperative banks, which I'm sure you would have heard, or seen, in some of the places, especially in tier 2, tier 3 rural cities. It was started to, work in rural markets, work in agriculture, and then work with, farmers and things like that. But eventually, with the advent of tier 2 and tier 3 cities growing in India, you can now see cooperative banks, penetrating into urban markets also. As the name itself suggests, it is a kind of cooperative model. It works in tier 2, tier 3 cities specifically for agriculture, but nowadays it is also slowly getting into the commercial part of it. So that's the second type of banking. The third type of bank structure that we have in India is regional rural banks. As the name itself suggests, it is regionalized, state specific. Predominantly, it also has some kind of central banks, but predominantly state specific rural banks working in different states across the country. Almost all the states has this bank. You would have come across this terms called Grameen Bank or Grama Bank. This is nothing but regional rural bank. So these are broadly the three types of bank that are there in India. Moving on, what are the professional career opportunities that are available in banking industry that we will see? Definitely, the first thing that you can get into, work for bank is get into a core banking role. Core banking includes daily, retail banking, we call daily routine banking. You can you can join the core banking in private banks or public banks or cooperative banks or even regional rural banks or anything. So that's the first thing, the core retail banking we call. The second one is you can become an investment banker. Basically, you will become a fund manager, so in investment banking, and then you can become a credit analyst. You can become specialized. You can also get into the specialized role like actuary or the law profile, HR, marketing, demat profile, stock market, basically. And these are some of the roles that you can definitely get in, when you choose banking as an industry. So these are some of the professional career opportunities that are there. Moving on, the all important thing, how to get into banks. It's very, very difficult to tell, but it's not that easy to get into the banks also. So let us see one by one as to how someone gets into the banks. The first bank that I thought I should tell everyone is about Reserve Bank of India. So we will see how RBI, recruits. So once you choose, to get into RBI, what you have to do is you have to, you can either go via assistant grade or go via grade A or grade B officer. So these are the three routes: assistant route, grade A, grade B officer route. So to get into assistant route, you have to have a degree first, degree with 50% of pass mark, and then you should be in the age category of 18 and 26. So if you fall in this category, take RBI assistant exam that's conducted by RBI, and then once you clear the interview, you can you can recruit. You can join as assistant in RBI. So for grade A and B officer, you need to possess graduation with first class or PG with 55%, or if you're a doctorate, your postgraduate can be 50%. So these are the clauses. So once you have this requisite qualifications, you can still take grade A, grade B exam and then give interview and then join. Professionals like chartered accountants, cost accountants, MBAs from IIM, in any IIM in India can also, take this exam and join the Reserve Bank of India as grade A and grade B officer. So that's about Reserve Bank of India. The next one is how do you get into a commercial banks, specifically the public sector banks, even be it a State Bank of India or Canara Bank. We'll see how you can get into a commercial banks. You can join as probationary officer, you can join as specialist officer, you can also join in the clerical cadre. As a probationary officer, SBI, State Bank of India, as such, conducts its own exam. It's done by SBI recruitment board. All you need to do is be in that requisite age group and then have a first class in graduation. So once you have that, you take SBI PO exam and then get into the State Bank of India. For all the other banks, public sector banks other than State Bank of India, the exam is conducted by IBPS PO exam, where you can take the IBPS exam, clear the exam and then give the interview and then join any other public sector bank. For specialist positions, say if you are a marketing professional or if you're an HR professional or a system or IT professional, you can still get into the banks by taking this specific exam that's once again conducted by IBPS and then join banks. Similarly, for clerical cadre, exams are conducted by IBPS and then you can get into it. Moving on, for rural recruitment, for regional rural banks, RRB, how do you get into it? Once again, IBPS conducts exams for RRB. You can, upon clearing the exam, you can join as office assistant, you can join as officer scale 1, 2, 3, and also join as general banking officer. So even for joining regional rural banks, you have to take an exam that's conducted by IBPS. For cooperative banks, respective states conduct the test and interview. Do follow those interviews. All these tests, be it for SBI or IBPS, are conducted from time to time. So you can definitely take those tests and then join. Besides this, private banks, more or less follow similar structure as to what public banks do. So they also have some interviews, some test and interview where you can join, clear, and then join those private banks. For clerical and lower managerial, positions, usually banks go to colleges, tier 2, tier 3 business schools, and then they recruit for for lower level managerial positions, and even for clerical positions. If you're a graduate, sometimes you get a job. So selection is more or less similar. So that's something which I thought I should say. So this is what I have for this week. Hope you understood the structure of banking system, what are the professional career opportunities that exist in banking, and how to get into banking system. Right. So in case you have any doubts on how to get into banks or further more clarifications on getting into banks, do ping me. All the credentials are there. So until next week with another brand new video, see you all. Take care. Have a great week. Thank you.